Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. The Amazing Spider-Man. Peter's parent prized briefcase wouldn't have been given to him by May and Ben initially, because even this barely past toddler-age spider dude must have started asking investigation-like questions immediately following his dropping off. The amazing, almost unarachnid approximation at this point was most likely deciding to simply state he was Richard Parker's son in his See Dr. Connors attempt before glimpsing those badges. He seems to have decided upon a Plan B typical movie found task set instead, because getting that sudden question thrown in his face while nervous made everything really screwy. Peter's preposterous punch-packing presentation of his new reflexes upon awakening in the subway could very well be because that him-containing train car shaking made things even more life-threatening than they normally would be. At least on a super instinctive level anyways. The only reason this overbearing, shady executive security guard dude didn't immediately kick Connors curbside, instead giving him an entire week for office clearing, is because he must have been worried about supremely sensitive science stuff sending him to early grave kind of places if anybody but good old Curtis over there took care of everything. He might have even believed the guy straight up booby-trapped this lab. Lizard life completely overtakes the guy, not only because said creature-type cell regeneration level greatly surpasses most other animals, but also the rushed research didn't dwindle things down to one specific more human DNA combo-friendly species. Dr. CC's more scaly form seems to be right-hand dominant, despite the dude's earlier made southpaw claims. This is probably because a combination of said appendage being the fresh genetics origin, and some only this new scaly part capable message-sending psychological stuff stemming from less fleshy alternate personality halves that's meant to suppress original mindsets and whatnot. Sometimes savage, shape-shifting scientists showing up in the school's bathroom as opposed to a lab with sinks or whatever might be because going up at a place filled with chemicals more complex than typical cleaning ones would be incredibly risky even for a super monster. Peter safely and swiftly tossing Gwen out of the window on a web strand is simply something he learned from overhearing that pendulum conversation some days ago. The altruistic purpose intended Gonali device using words like detonation instead of more friendly or at least neutral terminology would be for a couple reasons. 1. People would understand that something going wrong means really bad news in this case. 2. More other language speaking folks grasp explodey related English letter mixtures than simple dispersal concerning ones. Captain George Stacy, the not so science focused man, would know which cables are cryostasis liquid nitrogen deals or whatever as a result of both retaining work-related conversation when originating information, and looking into Connors after Peter requested so. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. More or less mastered spider senses and mutated muscle memory working together is what allows Peter to supremely swiftly swap clothes right as he shows up at graduation by contorting his body in ways viewers could never hope to comprehend. Mr. Parker's amped up casual conversation level as Spider-Man is not only because he's an incredibly friendly fellow, finally completely confident in his new superheroic role, but also the dude now knows doing so can pay off in practical sort of ways after that crane event's occurrence from film number 1. Also on a darker note, he might be chatting a lot more to distract himself from guilt-ridden dead girlfriend father related hallucination things. Max and Peter both quickly come up with amazing as a spider descriptor because the former's just like the latter dude when it comes to general thought pattern kind of deals, but lacking in support from others. Thus, everything winds up all wonkily for him as opposed to Mr. Parker's stylish, sorta charismatic dorkiness. The electro transformation doesn't look like it completes until Dylan's been all morgue packed for quite a while. Perhaps rigor mortis kicking in and making his body perfectly not flexible and thus more consistently shaped allowed for all that newly formed superhuman conductivity to flow much better than before. A combination of completely conquering his supreme sensory stuff and memorizing traffic patterns from crime fighting practically all day is what allows this dude to safely perform his more or less slow-mo, dramatic street crossing act. Security wouldn't stop Peter during his little distract them from Gwen's escape stunt because all of Oscorp's currently ongoing bad PR hoopla couldn't handle a headline reading, "Big corporation nobody likes anymore somehow gets even worse by pointlessly assaulting clumsy guy." What Harry would want his supposed Sinister Six to do in New York with Spider-Man apparently gone for good might involve something along the lines of kidnapping random people for experiments until a hemp-possessed screwy DNA cure gets discovered. Only the upper half of Rhino's suit gets glimpsed during this eerie hallway stroll. This very well could be because the bottoms are all custom made once a rider is found, so both said person's weight and that aforementioned top parts can get accounted for properly. Spider-Man regularly acting like just some normal dude doing a mundane job is what causes most people to accept his absence as something everyday regular person experience, like being overstressed or even full-on depressed, instead of more typical superhero junk, such as getting killed by aliens or brainwashed in a secret lab. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.